Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, really understands just who she's dealing with now. You see, for the last couple months, she's been taking some small little jabs here and there at Donald Trump, almost like she doesn't take Donald Trump seriously. Now, here's the thing. Mrs. Claudia Sheinbaum became president of Mexico during Biden's presidency, and as we all know, if Trump is captain of the varsity team, Biden is the official bench warmer for the Pee Wee League. So in today's video, what I want to do is go through some of the stuff that President Sheinbaum has been saying with some of you guys, and really just talk about how out of touch she is with reality, and oh, she is out of touch with reality. Now, let's rewind to late November. Trump has just won the election, and he's talking about imposing tariffs on Mexico if they don't help solve the border crisis. So what was President Sheinbaum's response to these proposed tariffs? Well, as Fox News reported, head-to-head, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum threatens to levy tariffs on the U.S., a move she said would cause all-around inflation and job losses after Trump said he would deploy police to combat drugs and illegal immigration. So her response to Trump when he told her that she needs to help close down the southern border was to threaten tariffs against the U.S. Now, when you think about it, this is probably the most incompetent response ever. Trump is saying that if she doesn't help shut down the border, he's willing to impose economic damage to Mexico. Her response? That she's also willing to do damage to the Mexican economy. Does she not know that the U.S. is Mexico's largest trading partner? In fact, they benefit more from trading with us than we do from trading with them. She pretty much is saying, you can't punch me because I'm going to punch myself first. Like, okay then? And it's not even like Trump is asking for something insane here. All he wants is for Mexico to help us stop the flow of criminals coming across the southern border. That's literally it. Literally, all that's being asked of her is to help secure the border between our two countries, and she's having an absolute hissy fit about it. Like, does she actually think that it's acceptable that drugs and criminals from her country are just endlessly flooding into our country and that we aren't going to actually get up and do something about it? Hey, you know what? Maybe Mexico has just gotten so used to taking advantage of the US that this genuinely does come off as a total surprise to them. They're like, what do you mean you're going to actually start standing up for yourself? Well, guess what, Mexico? America is back. But okay, let's move on to early January to when Trump floated the idea of renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. In response to this, President Sheinbaum got on a stage down in Mexico and said, sounds nice, suggesting that she would rename the United States of America to the United States of Mexico. And you know what? Maybe her saying that would actually carry some weight if her own country wasn't effectively being run by cartels. Maybe she should worry about her own country before she starts worrying about ours. Also, hey guys, if you enjoy the videos, please consider subscribing because it actually does help a ton. But anyway, just yesterday, Larry Kudlow on Fox Business offered an excellent overview of this entire situation, so let's take a look at that. Then we're going to have a lot to talk about.
You mentioned the tariffs as a negotiating tool.
Yes.
So Mexico and Canada, 25%, potentially February 1st. There's still 8 days to go, so I have to believe that they're having conversations. But then also China floating a 10% tariff there. Where do you think we sort of settle out with all of this?
Look, I think the most immediate issue, this is my read, okay? Mexico and Canada have to play ball on the borders. Both borders. They've got to play ball. So far, they've done virtually nothing, particularly Mexico. The authorities there, President Sheinbaum thinks it's a joke. She's making snippety little comments. Remain in Mexico, which was so important and so successful in the first term, would be much more efficient and effective if Mexico put back the 25,000 troops that AMLO put back. I mean, AMLO was a socialist also, but he was a realist, okay? Right. Trump, I think, she doesn't think that Trump is serious. Wait and see.
Just wait and see. And you know what? Right now, Trump is set to impose these massive tariffs on Mexico on February 1st, just about a week from now, if Mexico doesn't get its act together. Now, let's move on and take a quick look at what's going on right now on the Mexican side of the southern border. As reported, in Ciudad Juarez, soldiers are racing against the clock, setting up giant tent shelters to catch the human wave expected from the U.S. The plan, called Mexico Embraces You, includes food, medical care, and buses to help send deportees back to their hometowns. But critics are raising alarms, calling the government's efforts rushed and uncoordinated. With millions of undocumented Mexicans at risk and border cities already strained, the situation could spiral out of control quickly. The plan is called Mexico Embraces You, huh? That's weird because it seems like Mexico was the one that sent all of these people into the US through massive migrant caravans. For years, Mexico turned a blind eye to massive groups of people traveling all throughout their country in order to get to the US border. In fact, it seems like Mexico didn't just turn a blind eye, but they actually helped them out along the way. So it's not as if Mexico is ignorant of the entire situation. No, they've been 100% complicit in everything that has happened. So this whole idea that Mexico embraces you, give me a break. No one is buying that. Mexico was more than happy to profit off of these people's struggles. This whole illegal immigration thing is actually a billion-dollar industry, and a lot of people in Mexico have made a lot of money off of all of this. But now check this out. President Scheinbaum also offered some personal commentary on this entire situation. As reported, President Claudia Scheinbaum dismissed Trump's revived Remain in Mexico plan. She made it very clear that her country hasn't agreed to house non-Mexican asylum seekers. While the U.S. tries to revive its border crackdown, Scheinbaum has stressed that Mexico won't be a dumping ground for America's immigration policies. Instead, they'll offer humanitarian aid and voluntary return programs. Trump's hardline immigration stance is back, but Mexico isn't taking the bait this time. Okay, I have to say, it is so incredibly rich to hear the president of Mexico, Claudia Scheinbaum, go on and say that Mexico won't be America's immigration dumping ground when that's exactly what they've done to us for decades. Oh, you don't want us to deport all of these illegal immigrants back to your country? Well then maybe you shouldn't have let them come up here in the first place. Because it seems like Mexico has been totally comfortable with using America as an immigrant dumping ground for decades, but when we finally decide to round them up and do something about it, we're going to send them back now, that's when suddenly it's a problem. But hey, you know what? We've all been told by the progressive media that all of these illegal immigrants are actually high productivity economic assets and that none of them are criminals at all whatsoever. So I'm not sure why President Scheinbaum is so upset about all of this. She should be celebrating. Our progressive media has been trying to brainwash people for years into believing that all of these illegal immigrants are actually a good thing for the country. Diversity is our greatest strength. We're a country built by immigrants. Yeah, well, here's the thing. We are done being manipulated and gaslit into watching America turn into a third world hellhole. We're taking the country back, and that means that we're done taking in millions of illegal immigrants from Latin America. But so I'll tell you what, guys, I think this Mexican president, Scheinbaum, is in for an absolutely huge rude awakening. Very soon, too, by the way, because the reality is, we are going to be dumping these illegal immigrants back across the border, and there's nothing she can do about it. As they say, F around, find out. And guess what? She is about to find out. But hey, I think that's all I've got for you guys today with this one, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Please like the video if you liked it. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the content, if you enjoy the channel. Thank you guys very much for watching, and of course, as always, stay safe.